Gaslighting is distorting somebody's reality, and that can be emotionally excruciating. I mean, you're convincing somebody out of an absolute belief they hold on something they perceived to be real. So you're essentially telling them that their senses are not working well. They should not believe what they see, they should not believe what they hear, they should not believe what they think. That can make someone think they're insane. But what if somebody is stuck in their fantasy? What if somebody has an absolute belief of their imagination as reality? They're making up stories in their head and they're believing those stories to be real. And they're ignoring actual reality that's happening. What do we call the person who's trying to convince somebody out of their imagination and into the reality? Gaslighting is convincing somebody out of their reality into a false reality. But what do we call the reverse of that? When you're convincing somebody out of a false reality into a true reality. And I think sometimes it's very important to assess things thoroughly to see what other angle there may be, where the person actually is who's being gaslit or who's claiming or accusing to be gaslit. I think it's very important. And this is not to invalidate their concerns, but to actually look at those concerns and see, are they valid to be validated? We look at an example. A wife is sitting by herself in the house and is imagining conversations with different people. But we look at one conversation that she's imagining she's having with her husband, for example. And in the imagined conversation, the husband is telling the wife that you've let yourself go, you're not attractive anymore to me, and I'm talking to someone else who's more attractive than you. I'm paying my attention to someone else. And the wife is feeling bad about herself. In the imagined conversation, all of this is in her mind. The thoughts that she has about her husband are her thoughts about her husband, not the husband's thoughts. And so when the husband comes home that day, the wife sees the husband, and in her mind, she believes she's actually had that conversation with him. And so now she starts behaving as if she's had the conversation with him. So when the husband invites her for intimacy, the wife refuses. And now the husband is surprised, why are you refusing? And for the wife, she says, you already think I'm not attractive, so why are you trying to do this? Is it like obligation? And they get into a fight. You see, the wife here is getting into an argument with the husband that she's created in her mind, in her imagination, not the husband that she actually has. And so when the husband tries to enlighten her, tries to tell her that I haven't told you that, the wife says you're lying, accuses the husband of lying. And the argument just escalates, and all of a sudden it just gets out of hand, because the husband is talking to the wife that he thought he left home in the morning, meaning the same mindset, the same mind of the wife that she had. But the wife is talking to a husband that she has now created in her mind. So they're not having the same conversation. They're not having this argument with the same person they think they're having it with. And so now the husband trying to pull the wife out of her imagination so that she can see reality. What do we call that? I know that it's a societal norm, or it's a trend that has been there for a while, that husbands do cheat. But let's think for a minute that we have the unlikely husband who doesn't cheat, who's not actually thinking of cheating, but is committed and loyal and faithful to the wife, being accused by a wife who had imaginative stories or conversations with him that is now ruining the marriage. What do we call that? Because the wife is feeling the pain as real as if she actually had the conversation. And that's the flaw, that's the weakness that our mind has. Our mind does not know the difference sometimes between what we are creating in our mind, what we're fantasizing, what we're imagining, from what is actually happening. And becoming aware of this characteristic about the mind is very, very important, because then it allows you to start paying attention to distinguishing, am I making this up, or is this actually happening? And so in therapy, this would be a breakthrough for the wife to come to realize that all of this started one day when my husband looked at me or didn't look at me as much as I expected him to look at me, and I started feeling like I was unattractive to him. And so on that day, I started allowing myself to have these imaginative stories that continued and persisted in my mind, that actually felt real, such that now I started behaving as if we had had the conversation.